BnK Sportstalk Show. I'm Craig Koger.
And I'm Nick Botkins.
And we're going to get it started with breaking news. Michigan fires head coach Rich Rodriguez. Is this the right move for Michigan?
You know what? I don't think it was the right move when they hired him, so this is definitely the right move to get rid of him. You look at some of the things that happened with Rich Rod while he was there. They had, the trouble with him practicing too much in the NCAA regulations. The team never really looked very good. You talked about Jannard Robinson. He looked good at the beginning of the year, had all this Heisman talk or buzz going around. But that defense was horrible. They never beat Ohio State. They finally got bowl eligible this year, and then they got beat down in their bowl game this season. They're trying to maybe chase, Jim Harbaugh. Maybe that'll happen. That's his alma mater. We'll get into that in a little bit. But definitely right move to get rid of Rich Rod. His style of play does not fit what the Big Ten is all about. That fast style. Big Ten's about grinding out and getting these big players. He tried to get speed and everything else, and it just didn't work out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is definitely the right move by Michigan. Rich Rodriguez has been there for 3 years. Overall, he has a losing record. And, this year they finally looked like a decent team, and that's because they had a star early on in Jannard Robinson. They get to the bowl game, and they get blown out worse than Michigan has ever been blown out in a bowl game before. I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back after that kind of loss in the bowl game. Michigan is one of those programs. They're one of the most winningest programs in college history, and they think they should be up on that pedestal, and if the coach can't come in there and beat those teams in the Big Ten and beat Ohio State and win a bowl game, then they don't need to be in Michigan.
Yeah, they never even got close to playing Ohio State in any of the games he's played against. I think that'll, anytime, even if Ohio State, if Jim Tressel never beat Michigan and they were always getting blown out, he would have been gone a long time ago. In those two schools, you got to beat one or the other, to be a successful coach. He could probably lose almost every game, but if he beats Ohio State or something like that in these 3 years, he probably could stay. But instead, like I said, his offensive style just didn't fit very well what the Big Ten is about. Moving forward, Stanford, Virginia Tech gives Stanford a tough first half, but Stanford pulls away. What's your thoughts on the game, and what's the future of Andrew Luck and Jim Harbaugh?
The game was kind of the way that I thought it would when you look at the final score. Stanford winning by a lot. Virginia Tech did play good in the first half, gave them a game in the first half, but Stanford is one of those teams that they just wear on you. Their offense will just wear that defense out, and by the third, fourth quarter, they start putting points up on the board. Kind of the same way that Oregon does. Sometimes Oregon doesn't put too many points up in the first half, but you can only contain that offense for so long, and by the third, fourth quarter, they just start racking the points up on you. Andrew Luck, there's reports out saying that the Panthers are interested in drafting him if he does declare for the draft. I don't know that he will. I think maybe he comes back to school for another year. And as far as the future of Jim Harbaugh, I don't think that he will be in Stanford next year. If there's a couple college head coaching jobs available that he could be interested in. There's a lot of NFL teams out there interested in him as well, so he's got a lot of options. And to think that he's going to stay in Stanford, I don't know.
Yeah, the game in itself was a pretty darn good game until about halfway through the third when Stanford took over. Virginia Tech gave them a heck of a first half. They played right there with them. Tyrod Taylor made some good plays. But at the end, Andrew Luck took over and won that game for Stanford. As far as Andrew Luck's going forward, there is talk that he could be the #1 overall pick if he comes out. He's the consensus best player right now through all the draft experts. But is he going to go? Is he going to enter? We've seen this in the last few years. Sam Bradford returned back to Oklahoma. Locker last year returned back to Washington when he could have went. And here we are with Andrew Luck could be the #1 pick. Is he going to come back? This guy's actually got 2 more years of eligibility. He's only a sophomore, redshirted sophomore. So it'll be interesting. But at the same time, him and Harbaugh, what else do they have to prove there at Stanford going forward? This is as far as Stanford's ever been. This is the best year they've ever been. John Harbaugh, he came in when he took the Stanford job, said we're going to beat USC and Pete Carroll. They did that. So going forward, they don't really have any. They're not going to go any farther. I think if Harbaugh leaves, Andrew Luck will leave as well. I think Harbaugh is on his way out. There's talk about the Michigan. That's his alma mater. But there's many talks about the 49ers right down the road where he can go to. He's the hottest coach right now, and both of these two guys, they're going to make a lot of money next year. And going forward, Harbaugh can sit back and he can pick which team he wants to go to right now as become the head coach, whether it's college or pro.
All right, moving on. The NFL season is over. Playoffs wild card starts this weekend. Now that the season is over, we're going to hand out our season awards. We're going to start with the MVP. Who is your MVP?
Tom Brady's got to be my MVP. I know maybe some people say Michael Vick, but here's why Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't throw very many interceptions. They got rid of Randy Moss halfway through the year, and ever since they got rid of Randy Moss, he's just been throwing to guys. He's dinking and diming it, but they're lighting cats up somehow. Let me tell you the teams that they beat: the Ravens, the Steelers, the Packers, the Bears. All playoff teams, all considered Super Bowl contenders. And he demolished, and the Jets once too as well, and they demolished all them teams, and that's why Tom Brady, I think he's my MVP.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to say Tom Brady is the MVP. A lot of people are talking Mike Vick. There is a guy out there everybody's forgetting about, I think, and that's Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is an MVP candidate, but when you look at overall, I think it's got to be Tom Brady. Once they traded away Randy Moss, he had Wes Welker there. He's making rookies famous out there. He's got 2 tight ends nobody ever heard of before until this year. They've got some of the best stats for tight ends in the league because of what Tom Brady is doing. And the Patriots, like you said, they're beating playoff contenders. Anybody that's been in their way, they've handled so far, and they look like the Super Bowl favorite going in. And I think Tom Brady is the MVP.
All right, what about Rookie of the Year? Who do you got now?
I'm going to stick with what I've been saying. I'm going to say Sam Bradford, Rookie of the Year. The Rams didn't make the playoffs, but they still have had a complete turnaround season. They're definitely headed in the right direction, and Sam Bradford is going to be a star. It showed in the game against the Seahawks that he's not there yet, that he wasn't making the plays that he needed to win that NFC West Championship game, but Sam Bradford, what he's done there in St. Louis, they've turned that place around, and he's my Rookie of the Year.
I was going to say Sam Bradford, but I'm going to go with Nagano Suh. The guy said that the Rams should have drafted #1 overall. I think what he did for that Lions defense, they were actually horrendous all last season. This year they won a lot of games, including the last 4 games of the season. This could be a team going forward in the next season, and a lot of teams are going to sleep on. They're going to be pretty good with the talent they got there, as long as Matthew Stafford can stay healthy, Calvin Johnson. But I like Nagano Suh, what he did with that defense. He was an animal in the inside. Get to the quarterback. He ran a couple of touchdowns back on fumble recoveries. I like Nagano Suh. I think what he did for that Lions defense and that Lions organization going forward is going to be really good. And I'm going to give Suh the Rookie of the Year award.
All right, and final award, Coach of the Year. Who you got, Coach of the Year?
This is a toss-up. There's so many coaches out there. I'm going to go with Raheem Morris of the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's the youngest team in the NFL. He's the youngest head coach. To win 10 games in that division, where you have the Saints and the Falcons in your division, and they played with the Falcons in 2 games. They were able to beat the Saints in Week 17. What they did, and to win 10 games and just miss out on the playoffs. I'm going to give it to Raheem Morris with what he did with the Bucks after the turnaround they had last season.
All right, my Coach of the Year award is going to go out to a guy that not a lot of people are talking about either, and that's Mike Tomlin. Pittsburgh Steelers started their first 4 games without their starting quarterback. Didn't even phase them. Troy Polamalu's missed time. They've dealt with a lot of injuries there. He's got young wide receivers, and Mike Tomlin, he's always one of the most calm and most the coaches in the year that keeps his composure, and no matter what happens up there, Pittsburgh Steelers continue to win games, and they look like a good threat. They look like a Super Bowl threat going into the playoffs. I'm going to say Mike Tomlin.
All right, switching gears a little bit, Caron Butler out for the year for the Dallas Mavericks. What does this mean for Dallas going forward?
This is a big hit for Dallas. Caron Butler's been a big contributor there. He's a big part of the reason that the Dallas Mavericks have started the season off so hot. But Dallas has depth, and they have a lot of players. I think Dallas Mavericks are still going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the West. But this is a huge hit for the Dallas Mavericks if they're wanting to get that home court through it. If they want to, beat out the Spurs, beat out the Lakers, and be the top team in the West, it's going to be hard without Caron Butler the rest of the year.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And right now, Dirk is hurt as well. He's sat out the last 5 games, and who knows when he'll be able to come back on. Caron Butler, one of the more durable guys, and now he's out for the season. This is a guy they traded for halfway through last season to get him to make that spark. There for a couple weeks ago, we said the Mavericks are probably top 3 in the NBA of the best teams, and here there are two of their best players are out. It'll be interesting. Sean Marion or somebody like that's going to have to step up in Caron Butler's shoes, or maybe Mark Cuban makes a trade to get somebody else in there, but. I think one of those 2 things will happen. The Mavericks will be fine going forward, but I think this steps them back as one of the top 3 elite teams, maybe even the West, and definitely in the NBA.
All right, now before we go, bowl game tonight, Arkansas taking on Ohio State. How do you see this one going?
You know, I'm going to lean towards Arkansas. Ohio State's never beat an SEC team. It'll be interesting what Ohio State does with all these suspended players, you know, and all the turmoil going on there. You know, I was watching a report today that maybe Ohio State shouldn't be playing these guys because that way the NFL doesn't see their tapes, and you know, maybe these guys will come back next season even though they're going to miss the 5 games. Even though Jim Tressel said that all five of these guys are coming back, but I don't think they are. They're going to miss half the season. So I think we'll see some of these players declare for the NFL. But I'm going to take Arkansas. I think Ryan Mallon's been playing well. They got a lot of weapons. You know, Arkansas in a close one, I think.
Yeah, I think this game's going to be really close too, and I've been leaning towards Arkansas because there's a lot of distractions that have been going on lately with Ohio State, and this is probably the worst time because when the season ends, up until your bowl game, you have a big break, and the last thing that these players need is all these distractions that's been going on in Ohio State. These players are going to play in the bowl game, but there's been a lot going on up there. Like you said, Ohio State's never beat an SEC team. Arkansas has looked good against when they played Auburn, when they played LSU, when they played a lot of these top teams. In college football, Arkansas has looked good, and I'm going to take Arkansas in a close one as well.
Does the Big Ten, they need Ohio State to win this game for it to save face, don't you think?
I do think this. Ohio State right now is the face of the Big Ten. They're the powerhouse of the Big Ten. The Big Ten needs this bowl win.
Yeah, the Big Ten got demolished on New Year's Day. They didn't win. They went 0-5. Some big blowouts there. I think Ohio State needs to either keep it close or maybe even win for the Big Ten to keep safe as a big-time conference. You know, all these other teams got blown out on opening day, and the Big Ten not looking so good right now.
All right, that does it today, sports fans. BnK Sports Talk Show. Don't forget, check us out. Facebook at BnK Sports Talk, or email any comments and questions at bnksportstalk@hotmail.com. I'm Craig Coger.
And I'm Nick Bodkin.
Thanks for watching.